Good evening all, I'm Aditi Lamba with the Thursday night edition of South Asian News. Welcome to Vision of Asia, the voice of our community. We are coming to you from our studio here in New York City. Here's what's happening tonight in the coronavirus pandemic. Global cases of COVID-19 has topped 10.7 million with at least 516,000 deaths. The United States today set a new record number in a single day, reporting more than 50,000 new COVID-19 infections. There have been more than 2.7 million cases here in the country with at least 128 deaths. The states showing a great spike in their coronavirus cases are California, Texas, Florida, North Carolina, and Arizona. This is happening while at least 23 states around the nation are pausing their reopening or rolling back their plans. Florida set a record today, reporting over 10,000 new cases, the biggest one-day increase in the state since the pandemic started. Before this, only one state, New York, had reported COVID-19 cases to this level when it was the epicenter of the outbreak, but now New York has the lowest rate of cases rising in the nation. In California, the governor has closed bars, banned indoor dining, and imposed other restrictions affecting over 70% of the most populous U.S. state. Columbus, Ohio has implemented a mask mandate in public. Also, the state of Texas has implemented a statewide mask mandate, and the state of New Jersey has extended public health emergency for another 30 days as cases across the nation see a rise. With all this, and as we approach this upcoming holiday weekend of 4th of July, we'd again urge all our viewers to keep up with CDC guidelines of social distancing, washing hands, and wearing a mask in public to protect yourself and others around you. On the show tonight, we have much on these developments in COVID-19 with our continuous discussion on immigrant rights and identity during the pandemic, along with a special farewell for Indian Consul General of New York, Sandeep Chakravarti. Here are the headlines. Dr. Purvi Parikh addresses COVID-19 developments, vaccination and masks, New York City. Kiran Kaur on Saldiv's COVID-19 response, Black Lives Matter and Sikh American Voices, Washington, D.C. FIA bids farewell to Indian Consul General Sandeep Chakravarti, Consul General of India, New York. It's time for a short break on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. I'm Aditi Lamba and this is Vision of Asia Thursday night episode. Let's begin the episode taking a look in the latest in coronavirus impact, measures and resources. The United States has set another record for new cases just days before the July 4th weekend, with at least 23 states pausing their reopening to contain the spread of the virus, and at least 5 states are experiencing record high cases, especially states Florida, Texas and California. There are 2.7 million cases and at least 128,000 deaths. According to several healthcare officials, this current spike is due to an increase in infections, not because of more testing, and officials are urging Americans to limit their holiday weekend festivities to avoid clusters of outbreak. On this increase in nationwide cases, we have tonight our recent discussion with infectious disease expert Dr. Purvi Parikh, who joined us for a virtual conversation in New York City. Discussing various aspects of this outbreak, Dr. Purvi Parikh reflected upon the recent developments of COVID-19 in younger Americans, along with her take on vaccine and the importance of wearing a mask. A much-needed perspective here is Dr. Purvi Parikh. parts of the nation are surging in cases. We're looking at over 19 states that have rolled back their reopening or have paused it. And we're looking at 37 states that have seen an increase or a spike in cases. My question to you would be, what is the medical community's biggest concern right now? And in terms of PPE, hospital beds and ventilators, are there enough in case the situation gets similar to New York City?
Right, so that's a very good question. Our biggest concern right now is that, as these states are surging, like Arizona, Florida, Texas, Georgia, it's very worrisome because then a surge anywhere can spread throughout the country, and it will delay us even getting kind of back to normal and back to reopening. The other issue too is running out of those tangible resources like ventilators, beds, protective equipment. And actually, unfortunately, we're already seeing in certain areas, such as in Houston, in Phoenix, in Arizona, and Florida, that doctors are actually reporting a lot of the same issues that we had in New York. So many hospitals have already reached full capacity and have activated emergency orders. And I'm hearing from healthcare workers on the ground that there are unfortunately shortages of PPE in those areas, which again worries all of us because, we were hoping that the other parts of the country would learn from the issues that New York went through and would hopefully be more prepared.
Yes, what is the biggest lesson they should take from New York and how they have handled COVID-19?
Right. So the biggest thing is that, there has to be very strict policies in place, especially by the government. So, there should be masking mandates because we know that if everybody wears a mask, the transmission drops almost 70%. And then on top of that, all non-essential businesses may need to close down again and be as strict as we were in New York. Because once we are able to close things down, reopening should not happen all at once. It needs to go very gradually and in phases. New York it was moving now from phase 2 to 3, and just now we got news that likely we won't be moving into phase 3 on Monday, and I think that's the right call because we don't have a spike. We still are having decreasing cases, but it's better to kind of stop reopening and continue to go gradually before there's a large surge. As you can see in other places like Arizona, Florida, California, they're actually going backwards and closing things again. So all of these things are very, very important, and it's up to the leaders to put those policies in place until the healthcare workers can catch up.
What would you say to our elected officials right now?
So what I would say is that, we need to stop playing politics and basically enact policies that that work and that we know based on scientific evidence work. So mask mandates are such a cheap and easy way to help decrease transmission rates. So I think political leaders in both parties need to be role models and step up, and so that other Americans will follow. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of, misconcerns that, it's a partisan issue. It's not, we know it works from a scientific standpoint. And then the other thing too is it's very, very important to decrease the spread. All the states can't act independently as different countries. They need to kind of act in a uniform way because an outbreak anywhere is an outbreak everywhere. So we all have to have a uniform way of reopening things and gradually. And I know people are concerned regarding the economy, but if anything, Goldman Sachs released a report yesterday that mask wearing not only will save lives, but it will also save the economy as well, because we'll get back to reopening sooner. And hopefully that will buy us enough time to get the vaccine and a reliable cure.
For sure, and I really hope we get that vaccine, and I really appreciate you for your time here on ITV Gold. My one last question to you is, after all of these months, Dr. Parikh, of dealing with patients, being on the front line, and now also being a part of the process of vaccination, what has this pandemic taught you the most, and what do you want people to learn the most from it?
What has taught me the most is that being proactive and being prepared are key. We always say this in medicine for years, but that ounce of prevention is a pound of a cure. I probably didn't say it as articulately as the original quote, but just being prepared and acting fast and being proactive can save so much devastation. It can save so many lives. And I think, we need to have policies in place that if another pandemic like this hits, we are ready, because we were kind of caught off guard. We didn't have the testing in time. We didn't have protective equipment in time. There wasn't a concerted effort in closing down businesses and travel. And maybe if we had done all of these things sooner and we had enough of a supply of all the key resources, we may not have had as many deaths or infections. And ironically, we may have been able to come out of this faster as some of our neighbors in other countries. So I think it's being prepared and preventing things is much easier than kind of backtracking.
Well, I appreciate you for your time here, Dr. Parikh. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's now take a look at the Federation of Indian Associations, FIA, one of the strongest organizations representing the identity and culture of Indian heritage and its people here. Recently, FIA hosted a farewell in honor of Indian Consul General of India, New York, Sandeep Chakravarti, commending his works and efforts in truly bringing together the diaspora during his tenure. A member of Indian Foreign Services, Sandeep Chakravarti served as the Ambassador of India to Peru and Bolivia prior to becoming the Indian Consul General at the Indian Consulate in New York. Speaking at the farewell, Consul General Sandeep Chakravarti thanked FIA for its support for the Indian Consulate and also reflected upon his tenure, saying that the engagement with Indian American community has been an unparalleled level, and he was grateful to have built strong ties with the community. The event also saw ITV Gold Parikh Y Media's chairman Dr. Purvi Parikh along with key members of the Federation of Indian Associations. Here is the story.
My dear friend Sandeep ji, Mrs. Sandeep ji, Mrs. Chakravarti, and our friend DC ji, Satrughna Sinha ji. Really, what I say, I echo what Anil says, that we really going to miss a great friend. And really, you are so popular, so proactive, so easily approachable, and you have done even sometime going a little way out of your routine and help people, those who needed help. And really, we all appreciate that, particularly FIA appreciate that. And today, it's really a sad thing that we don't have our buddy Ramesh here with us, because I'm not only his close friend, but I was also his doctor. So I feel so bad, but I was kind of little lucky that 2 hours before he passed away, I had a FaceTime with him through the ICU nurse. And really, we missed him. He has done this, what he has done for FIA, nobody else can do it. And what FIA, I would suggest all the FIA trustee that we should start some foundation to leave his legacy. And Sandeep ji, really will miss you. And as Anil says, next time we're going to see you in Washington, DC. We'll come and do the reception for you. And you can and really, please keep in touch. You can always count on us, count on me personally. We are friends, and we remain as a friend. And please be in touch and be with all our community friends. Thank you.
Especially all of us at FIA are very happy that you get to go home after a very successful posting in New York as the Consul General of India. But we admit, you can see it, that we are sad for losing you, your counsel, and your company. And I want to take this moment to let you know how fortunate I personally have been to be able to work with you and your team. You have been unbelievably approachable and so helpful. And again, thank you for your kindness, and the FIA family members, including trustees and the executive team, wish you and your family the best of health and incredible happiness for years to come. And most importantly, we really wish to see you come back as an India's ambassador to the United States.
I had the opportunity, when I came in 2017, Andy was the president, and then 2018 Srujal was the president, 2019 Alok, and 20. So मैं 3 साल में 4 president के साथ काम किया, so I am very lucky. And this year we had great plans for 2020, 50 years of FIA and 40 years of the parade. हम लोग already discussions कर चुके थे over several lunches and all that. We were planning an event in the UN. In fact, UN में hall booking की भी बात हो रही थी. And then we had ideas of whom to get. We had exchanged mails, and I was trying to get messages from President and Prime Minister. So unfortunately, COVID has just stalled everything for the last 4 months. But during COVID also, Anilji, you know, we worked together, and FIA worked with us, and बहुत लोगों को मदद पहुंचाई आप लोगों ने, and हम लोग constant coordination में थे. And to me, I like the FIA format and framework because it is a pan-Indian organization. It doesn't belong to any region. People from all communities have been your presidents, and they continue to be. You take everybody together. And I think the biggest tribute to Dr. Ramesh Bhai would be that if FIA spreads its wings and become more inclusive and take, because जब 50 years पहले FIA बना था, then there were only so many Indians and so many communities, but now it has become such a huge Indian presence in the tri-state and everywhere else. And FIA, I think, you have the experience and you have the young leadership in FIA, which Ramesh Bhai and other senior leaders have groomed, and you have so much of dynamism. So if FIA becomes a more broad-based and more inclusive organization, then I think it will be the best tribute to this organization and its leadership. COVID has proven that, when we're together, we really matter, and our relationship with the US has also progressed. Even during COVID times, it's one of our closest relationships. My high point was in my tenure was, of course, Prime Minister's visit to New York, and before that to Houston, and again there FIA and all of you were so closely involved. Many of you went to Houston, and we worked very closely. And then President Trump went to India. That also strengthened our relationship. And I think our relationship will only go northward. It will go up, become more strong. And the role of the diaspora will become more and more important. There is no doubt about it.
It's time for a short break on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be right back. And welcome again. This is Vision of Asia, the South Asian news segment, and I am Aditi Lamba. We continue now on our ongoing report and discussion on the Black Lives Matter movement, DACA, and addressing immigrant rights and voices during the pandemic. Earlier today, we spoke with Executive Director Kiran Kaur Gill of SALDEF, the Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund. Kiran Kaur Gill joined us virtually from Washington, D.C. Reflecting upon SALDEF's work as a media policy and education organization, Kiran spoke to us on SALDEF's COVID-19 response, saying that SALDEF continues to empower Sikh American voices, their identity and religion while promoting civic and political participation. Also addressing hate crime and discrimination targeting Sikh Americans during the pandemic, Kiran Kaur Gill also spoke standing in solidarity with the ongoing Black Lives Matter movement and supported Supreme Court's DACA ruling. Here is Executive Director of SALDEF, Kiran Kaur Gill. There's so much happening in the nation, and I know SALDEF has been very vocal and supportive of a lot of causes. But just before beginning the show and discussing more on that, I'd like for our viewers to get to know SALDEF a little bit more. So for just the viewers that may not know about SALDEF, could you give us a little brief insight into all of its programs and how it's one of the biggest advocacy groups for South Asian Americans in the country?
Absolutely. So SALDEF stands for the Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund. It's actually the oldest Sikh American advocacy group in the United States. And our focus is on civil rights, religious freedoms, as well as civic engagement for the Sikh American community. We worked on a number of different initiatives, from uniform accommodations with the military and law enforcement to working closely with the FBI and EEOC on issues of workplace discrimination, harassment, and hate crimes. And we worked extensively on civic engagement within the Sikh American community, ensuring the community is aware of policy and legislation that affects the community, that they're engaged, that they're registered to vote. And we also have a program called the Sikh Lead Program, where we train and develop young Sikh Americans to be the next generation of leaders and community advocates.
That's great. And, just looking at COVID-19 now, how have your programs transformed over these last couple of months? And there are legal, policy, and education resources available through SALDEF. Are all of these resources still in process?
Absolutely. So like many organizations, we've changed to a virtual model. We've done a number of different webinars on topics related to COVID and also related to civil rights and civic engagement. We have resources online, and our programs like our Sikh Lead programs, where we actually have college-age students that do legislative internships on Capitol Hill. Typically every year it's in person, but this year we're actually running a virtual internship. So we have interns from across the country learning how government works, learning how to become advocates, but doing this experience virtually. So it's a new area for us, but it's been a really interesting experience over the last couple of months.
Kiran, we continuously keep on seeing these kind of incidents happen to South Asians all over. In terms of these people that are conducting these heinous acts, what would you say to them?
I would say, we're all Americans, and as a community, we need to come together. These type of acts are divisive, they're unnecessary, and I think the Sikh community and the Sikh philosophy is one of oneness, one of community. So my message to the perpetrators is you really need to understand the community better, and that we're stronger together ultimately. Right. And to the FBI and to law enforcement, my message is, let's find these people and let's bring these perpetrators to justice, because these are things that shouldn't be happening and there should be consequences.
And perhaps how they can reach the resources of SALDEF.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think probably the biggest takeaway or message I want to leave with your audience is, this is a year of civic engagement. We have some really important things going on, the 2020 census, we have the presidential election. So I just want to say, to all those watching, it's important to be engaged. Obviously, we're living during a pandemic, so I guess the ultimate message would be stay safe and stay engaged. I also want to let folks know that we do have resources available for the census, as well as voting online at our website, www.saldef.org, or you can follow us on Instagram at Sikh Americans, or follow us on Facebook at our Facebook page, SALDEF. So we'll be having webinars, we'll be having discussions about voting, the census. We do have resources on both census and voting on our website and on these other social media platforms. So please make sure you follow us, and please make sure, again, to stay engaged.
Yes, for sure. Staying safe and staying engaged. I hope you also stay safe. Thank you so much for your time, Kiran Korgil.
Thank you.
And this wraps up our show for the night. Remember to send us your suggestions and get your voices and organizations on our show. Email us on events@itvgold.com or follow us on Facebook at itvgold. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch many of our popular shows for free. Thank you for joining us tonight from Queens, New York. This is Vision of Asia, and I am Aditi Lamba. Take care and be well.